Hello, and welcome to the Joss Brown Podcast. With over 40 years of combined financial planning experience, we will discuss our favorite topics, concepts, and stories.
So today we're going to talk about wealth and transferring wealth and estate planning, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some podcasts about estate planning from a planner's perspective, which documents you need. Wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and the like. And we also have a podcast where we spoke with an estate planning attorney. But today we want to talk about other issues, kind of estate planning like.
Right.
But the attorney is not going to talk to them about that. We are going to be talking with clients about this.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So a big gift, a big problem with gifting, our clients giving to children typically are conversations. The first one is about a car to the new 16-year-old, the new driver.
Yes. So did you give your kids a car, or did they save up for a car? How did that work in your family?
It was different, which is a principle. To teach children, to treat kids equally, you have to treat them uniquely.
Yes.
Great, good principle. We helped with the car purchase process, but we didn't pay for the car.
Okay.
For two of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? You have two kids.
Yes, and I like that uniquely statement. So my son was really excited to drive. So it didn't take much motivation for him to save up and buy his own car in high school. And he was able to get a discounted car from a family member, which was nice. My daughter did not want to drive. She loved having me drive her around. So I was almost bribing her to get her license and to start driving a car. So we ended up actually getting her a car. But we had a budget and we stuck to it. We said we weren't going to spend more than a few $1,000s on a car. My son bought his first car and it was about 5 years ago. It was only $2,000, and my daughter bought hers for $1,800, and we actually ended up paying for hers because she really didn't want to drive. We really wanted her to drive. So
what kind of a car? And now it's probably $4,000 for that car. What kind of a car did you get for $2,000?
We looked for her. We got her a Honda. And we looked at the reliability and everything, and we just talked to other people in the community to find out who wanted to get rid of their car.
But that would have been probably over 100,000 miles.
Yeah, it did. It's still, yep. And she's still driving it. It's a great car.
Yep. And so that's one approach: is either get it for them or help them spend a very small amount of money.
Right.
Another approach we've worked with clients getting is one that's 5 years old. So maybe between 50 and 100,000 miles, which is arbitrary. Now that cars go many more miles.
Right.
It used to be a psychological thing. It's like once it's 100,000 miles, it's old, and things will fall apart, which I don't think is true anymore.
No.
Yeah. No. And we've also helped clients pay for their kids' cars, and so we plan. That's part of our planning. Is we know that if their goal is to have a client have their child get a car at 16, then we help them save for that.
Right.
And so when a child's 16, we say, we've got money in your portfolio for this use. Go to it.
Absolutely. And not only for clients' kids, but for themselves. A lot of people don't count the cost of buying a car every 5 or 10 years. So it's nice to put that in the financial plan as well.
And some combine those. We're getting the new one for us, and so now we can send that off to our kids, the old one. We've also had clients match their kids. Like if you put $10 in for a car, we'll put $10 in. So really it's half the price for the child.
Right. Yeah.
Car is an easy one. Let me give you that principle I wrote down here. You love your children equally, and as such, you treat them uniquely.
I like that, yes.
It's kind of a big deal. Many parents want to treat their kids equally on everything, which may or may not be the right thing to do.
Right. And that's come up for me before with clients who have kids with special needs as adults even. So, you may have one child who's very successful and able to save, and another child who may need additional support due to either, learning disabilities or mental health issues. So,
cars are an easy one. What about houses? Have you help clients get their children into a new house?
yeah, a lot of people do put down payments down for their kids as a wedding gift or something like that. So I have helped clients with, where the best place to get that money is tax-wise.
And then being careful about, because it's easy for parents to put down a down payment on a house. I mean, it's not done every day, but if you plan for it, it can be done. And then if the children can't afford the payment on the rest of that, how does that work out? Or is that's all part of the conversation?
Definitely part of the conversation. You don't want to help a child get into a house they can't afford to keep up or make payments on. So we have to be careful in our recommendations for gifting based on the child's cash flow as well. So
I have a warning in here. A warning, do not use money to change a lifestyle. And so if you do that, get them into too big a house, that could cause the children to have problems in the future.
absolutely. And that can cause problems in a marriage as well.
Could cause problems for the giver too.
Yes.
I've had a client do several. One is down payment, and the child takes the payments, and then the parent in their estate planning documents said, when I pass away, the mortgage gets paid off. So while living, the child has to make the payments, and so that's their contribution. I've also had clients give a loan for the down payment.
Yeah, I've had clients do that as well. And one thing I caution people about when making a loan for a down payment or even a whole mortgage even is to make sure to write up a formal note so that the kids understand the responsibilities involved, and use a real interest rate, right? So that the taxes are done properly and the IRS doesn't come back and consider it a gift rather than a loan. And then lastly, make sure to record it with the courthouse so that the loan is attached to the home. I think that adds another level of responsibility for the new couple.
I always say the more formal it is, the better it is.
Yes, absolutely. And you can cancel the loan at death. You can put a loan canceling agreement in there. So a lot of people don't know that.
And you could even use your annual gift exclusions to cancel part of it if you wanted to do it.
That's right.
But put it in writing and then put the gifts in writing after that if you want to do that.
Right.
But a small problem I have with that is it's still a cost to the children. Not only are they paying the mortgage back, but now they're also paying the down payment back. And that could stress it. Typically, it's a new family with a new house, and that could cause problems.
It could, absolutely.
So cars and houses. What about just annual gifting?
Annual gifting. So why don't you explain how that helps them long term to our audience?
How annual gifting helps? Well, we like to, as the saying goes, give while you're living, so you're knowing where it's going. The estate planning that the attorney is going to talk about is what happens after death. The children or the beneficiaries inherit everything. But the idea of giving while you're living is a way for people to be generous to their own family members. And that could be the annual gift exclusions. I remember years ago it was $10,000, and clients would give $10,000 to each of their children or their children's spouses. And you can give lots of money away without messing with your lifetime exclusion. But I think the more creative people can give, the better that is too. Because then you're not just saying, here's, I think it's $14,000 or $15,000 now. Here's more money, because the recipient of that gift starts then to increase their lifestyle, and their lifestyle depends on that annual gift. And that's not necessarily a good thing to do.
Right. It's good to have a purpose for which they're getting the money for.
Yeah, our son just got married, and his group of friends had a tool party for him, for a bachelor party. Well, he got all kinds of tools that will be useful in the marriage. And with that came advice. So it's like, here's a tool and here's some advice. And so that achieved two different goals. It could have been, here's money, go buy a tool. But giving the tool was a more unique way of being generous.
That's great.
And then children, or our clients who give to their grandchildren, also are starting to mix things up. Instead of here's a check for birthday or Christmas, it's here's a gift, or here's an experience, or here's something I know you need.
Yes.
Like maybe a down payment on a house, or a down payment on a car, or a summer vacation, or something else.
Right, right. Have you had experience with parents gifting money to start businesses?
No,
No.
not personally.
Okay.
You?
I have, and I've seen it go good and bad. So that's something you definitely want to bring an attorney in the mix for.
Make it formal
Make
again.
it formal.
Make it formal. What about giving too much? Have you ever had someone give too much? And I guess, how do you define too much?
Absolutely. I think a lot of people who want to be generous, especially when they get an inheritance from their parents or other relatives, see it as an opportunity to give all the money to their kids or to a charity that they weren't able to give during their lifetime. And they don't realize that they need that money to sustain their own lifestyle during their golden years. So I have seen cases where clients inherit a lot and they end up giving huge amounts to charity, more than they can afford to give, and just kind of giving to the kids and the grandkids in excess. And that's where we had to step back and say, how do we stop this? And in one case, I did that with an annuity, which I don't usually recommend annuities, but for them it was great because the annuity had a cash back option. So when they passed, their heirs actually did end up getting quite a bit of money back, but it put a break on them giving money during their lifetime, because then they had to stay on that fixed income of money coming into them. So that was the best way to stop the bleeding in their case, but there are other ways to do that.
It's easy to be generous when you have a lot.
Right.
And I think there's a whole science behind lottery ticket winners, or people that get big bonuses, of how they're not necessarily thinking of the long-term implications of that.
Right.
And so it's great to be generous, and I rarely say don't be generous. But when our trick is with retirement projections, trying to guess how much the rest of life will cost, and we don't know when the rest of life ends, and so we don't know how much to keep, but it's certainly a conversation to have with clients.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would also argue that we rarely have that problem, because most people aren't generous.
Yes.
Have you found that to be true?
With their money, no, not often. People tend to be more generous with their time,
Yep.
right, and their resources than their cash. So, but once you start talking to them about being generous with their cash, then they go, "Oh, I can do that too."
Yep.
So that's great.
Yeah, and that's where I think we add value.
Yes.
Okay, you do have more than you need.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we went to that seminar in Florida, they talked about putting charities in wills, and I hadn't really thought about just adding a beneficiary in an IRA or in a will, of adding a little charity, because most people leave everything to their kids. So,
Yep.
But leaving 10 or 20% to somebody when you don't need it and you're gone, it's a great way to give back.
Yep, and that's, again, at the end, or a beneficiary of last resort.
Right.
Because typically a charity will be around much longer than an individual will. So that's always an easy one there. And then just the idea of giving while you're living. Hey, we can give more to charities while we're living.
Yes.
And so the best way to do that is to start giving.
Yep.
Start identifying things, charities that interest you, and then get involved.
Yes. I like what I've seen you do in the past when people weren't thinking about it, and that is giving appreciated stock away or appreciated real estate away. while they're living, and then they don't have to take on the tax burden, and they get the great feeling of helping somebody.
And Uncle Sam benefits too. we let him help give to our charities.
That's right.
Here's a couple more warnings. We did talk about not changing a lifestyle of a gift recipient, but don't give to manipulate behavior.
Right.
Is one. Like, don't. There's a good way of encouraging behavior by our generosity, but then that's another thing to manipulate behavior. And don't let your giving come between a husband and wife or partners or parents and children. That's not a good thing if you're a grandparent to get in the way of your children parenting their children with your gifts. So ask your children if it's okay that you make a gift to their children, or so that you're just not messing with the parent-child relationship.
Yes, my kids are very close to their grandmother, my mom, and she's always trying to give to them. So, my husband's had to run after her. Wait, no, don't give that money to them. We're trying to teach them something. So that comes up quite a bit, in our family.
The passing of knowledge is of primary importance. Avoid your stewardship responsibility. It's your choice, not theirs. Our clients, it's their money to steward and to give. And if children are asking for money, you don't just have to say yes. It's our client's choice. It's their responsibility. So our job as planners is to walk through these decisions and help bring information and to kind of show the consequences or the benefits of making certain decisions and letting them decide.
Yeah, it's good to have somebody in between the children and especially the elderly parents because, you don't want the child, unknowingly taking advantage of the parent because the parent's too generous.
Or knowingly taking advantage of
knowingly
parents.
taking advantage.
We've had theft within families, right. And it's not a good thing.
No.
Never ends well. Well, that's a good supplement to our estate planning talk. So, anything else you want to add to this section?
I think that's great.
Good. So thank you for visiting with us today, and we look forward to having you join us on our next podcast.